there, and welcome to Cryptology for You, the channel that's not even about cryptology at all, but all about cryptocurrency. In today's episode, we're going to take a bit of a look at what's going to happen to ETH and what you can do after ETH decides to merge. Regardless of what you hear about this channel or what you're about to see now, none of this is financial advice. It is all purely for education. Yeah, there might be a little bit of entertainment, but the rest is all education. Either way, it is still not financial advice. Now, the current way that Ether is mined is the proof of work system. Now, proof of work is really just a bit of complex mathematical equations that are going to be solved by computers. But these computers are all pretty much fighting for this current right to solve, and this is quite an expensive process, especially when your computer isn't the one that's solving the puzzle. The other problem with proof of work, it is not environmentally friendly at all. In fact, in the US, it is estimated that 40 billion pounds of carbon emissions come just from the mining industry. Now, I don't know what a pound is. It's about 18 billion kilograms. That's 18 billion kilograms. That's a lot. And isn't it about time the US went metric? Come on, the rest of the world's been there for years. With all that aside, it appears that the mining industry used as much as the entire country of Netherlands. Yeah, the Netherlands, that one there. Yeah, it might look small, but it is a big European country, and all the miners in the world are using as much power as that country. They probably could have picked a bigger country. The population's big, but the size is small. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of carbon, alright? But that's all of the cryptocurrencies put together. I mean, what about good old Ethereum? Well, yeah, Ethereum also uses the same amount of energy as an entire country. It's just that country happens to be New Zealand. And there it is there. Where? Oh, it's one of those maps that New Zealand doesn't appear on. Well, there's even an entire group devoted to maps that don't include New Zealand. I mean, it's New Zealand. They even nearly voted in this flag as their national flag. They didn't vote it in, but they nearly did, and it's the fact that it got up onto the voting stage in the first place, which is fairly amazing. But all that aside, Ethereum is using a lot of power, the same amount of power that would power the entire country of New Zealand. So Ethereum decided they were going to do something a little different. They're going to move towards the proof of stake system. Now, the proof of stake system is a little bit easier. It doesn't require some really hardcore computing. You just need a small program, and that program stays online and does all the work for you. I kind of explained it a bit better in a previous video, and I'll put a link to that video in the description below. But in order to mine Ethereum currently, you would need some pretty powerful computer equipment. Bring on the old ASICs. Now, Ethereum had actually set itself up to not be mined by ASICs, which then ended up being mined by ASICs. Now, all an ASIC is a pretty expensive piece of equipment that can't do anything else but mine. It's pretty useless for everything else, but it does do a pretty good job at mining. The only problem is, its one job of mining is soon to come to an end on Ethereum as Ethereum goes proof of stake and there is no more mining, and you end up with an expensive piece of metal that might look okay as a paperweight. Yeah, the prices aren't cheap. I took a look at the ETH miner and we're 10,000 US dollars a unit. That's a lot of money to spend on something that's going out of fashion pretty quickly. But you might be able to get a second-hand one soon, because surely they're going to come down in price after Ethereum goes proof of stake, because no one's going to want their ant miner. Or do they? Maybe they could use their ant miner for something other than a paperweight. Well, unless it's Ethereum Classic, it really doesn't have any other use, but yeah, you could just change your ant miner over to Ethereum Classic and start mining that. It could be worth something. Yeah, I didn't really do a lot of research into that, because this one isn't about ASICs. No, instead this video is about the GPU, the graphics processing unit, the humble graphics card, the card that we would also use for gaming, which when you tell gamers you're mining, they get just a little bit titchy about it, so you probably keep it to yourself. There are some pretty big graphics processing unit rigs out there, and well, here's one that I found earlier. You don't need a massive graphics card rig in order to mine, although this would be pretty cool. Because currently, right now, Ethereum is the most profitable coin to mine by using graphics cards. So that just begs the question then. What is going to happen to all the miners once the end of Ethereum comes and there's no more mining? What are they going to do? Well, the ASICs, we don't terribly worry about them, but the graphics card users, they can still mine. They can choose to mine a lot of different coins. They're not bound like the ASICs miner to just one type of coin. In fact, they get quite a world of choice. One of the things that annoyed gamers the most was the price of GPUs. They just skyrocketed after mining started and they never seem to go down. In fact, if we take a look at a graph, yeah, they sort of peaked not that long ago, but the price is coming down now. With the price coming down, there is a good chance you'll be able to buy up a whole bunch of GPUs a lot cheaper, and the gamers will be happy because they'll probably be able to buy back some of their GPUs in order to play their games. But some of the other GPU miners that are out there now, they're probably just going to swap between one to another type of coin. It is quite possible to do. There are plenty of coins out there to mine whenever you're using a GPU. It's not like an ASICs miner which is stuck on one type of algorithm. You can change and choose your algorithm however you like. But of course, this is also a good time for you to capitalize on this. Now, if prices of the GPUs do fall and you feel like getting into mining, there are probably a few things to look out for. Firstly, you need to have your power bill ready because your power bill is going to go up extraordinarily fast. Secondly, you need to have a room for it. The graphics cards aren't exactly quiet when their fans are whirring to keep themselves cooler when they're up over 80 degrees Celsius. There are other risks, and I'm going to take a look at one other risk at the end of this video. But you probably want to know how it is you can even find a coin to mine. Well, actually, luckily, there's an easy site. It's called whattomine.com, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. Now, it isn't the only place you can go, but it is a good place to start off, and you can put in any number of graphics cards that you might have or not have and see what would be worth mining. I decided to lie and I put in that I had 12 3080 Ti's. I don't have 12 3080 Ti's, but this is what I'd be able to mine if I did. And there are a whole bunch of different algorithms, and this includes Ethash, which could mine Ether right now, but soon, not at all. Now I'm going to concentrate on just one of these coins, but I'll show you that soon. If you want to look at the coins that you can try to mine, just hit the calculate button and you'll get to see a list of the coins and roughly how much they could be worth for you to mine. But for me, I wanted to concentrate on just one coin, and it's a pretty popular coin. It is Flux, and Flux requires the Zell hash algorithm, and my 12 3080 Ti graphics cards would do that job quite nicely. However, I don't have 12 3080 Ti graphics cards, so I'm not going to do that job nicely at all. But someone who does do a very nice job is our good friend Anorak, and Anorak is here to talk to you a little bit now about Flux and what we feel the future could be. Welcome in, Anorak.
Well, hi Paulie, it's great to be back, and today we're going to have a look at the Flux, decentralized Web3. Right, with some coins you do need to do a lot more work than others. With the Flux, it's not one of the big ones out there at the moment, so we do need to actually do a little bit more research before we can actually get any sort of price indications on it. And that means, yeah, a little bit more of a deep dive is going to be going on here today. Yeah. It could even be classed as a treasure hunt, which means we could actually get somewhere with this. Right, the first thing I'm going to look at with the Flux is the investors. On the investors, I've underlined here the NEA protocol and Coinbase Ventures. Coinbase Ventures is quite a big one to actually have on here, because if Coinbase actually invest into it, there's a good chance it could end up on the Coinbase exchange at some time, which is very, very important to remember. Because we all know what the Coinbase effect is like. Once it goes on there, it can quite often go straight to the moon quite easy. So, the NEA protocol, what have we got here? Right, the NEA protocol is a layer 1 blockchain, and it's a proof of stake. So, the proof of stake is what Ethereum is doing right now. So, it's becoming very, very popular, proof of stake, opposed to proof of work, which actually costs a lot of money on electric to actually do that. So by bringing the price down, it's showing that the NEAR protocol is pretty much on target to rivaling some of the big guns out there. And the big gun I think is going after at the moment, NEAR, is the Solana network. Okay, the Flux network. So that puts the Flux network as a layer 2. Right, layer 2 is going to run in its own coin anyway, its own chain. So it's all looking pretty good. So I'm quite happy what I'm seeing in the background here. It looks like a good strong project. Now let's actually have a look at the charts to find out whether and what this thing could do. Okay, what I've done here, I've actually set up a fib chart over this, which is running from the very high and down to the bottom. As we can see, over the last 4 weeks on this, it hasn't actually made any lower lows, which is quite impressive. So where could we see this going in the future? Well, as I keep on saying, we'd want to see over $1 at the moment before we actually get into another bull run. If we make the all-time high, we're back to $3 too, and I can see this going eventually a lot higher. So I've actually marked out down the bottom here where it possibly could go, and it's only a little bit lower from where we are now, from the 41 cents. I think we could get down to the 25 cents mark, and on the high I would say this could go easily to $5, and if we get it listed on Coinbase, I could say it could go to $15. So this could be one to really watch in the future. And obviously there's a few ideas there on how to do a little bit more research when you're actually looking at coins which are out of the top 20 per se. So yeah, if you like that guys, please smash the like button, and I'll catch you all again soon. Bye.
So there is plenty of hope for Flux, and I will put some links to the Flux website and to their Discord group, which I strongly suggest you join so that you can learn a lot more about Flux. But in this case, you've chosen to become a miner, so you're out there mining with your new graphics cards that you got a lot cheaper because people could no longer mine Ethereum. The one thing you didn't need was a Flux capacitor. I bet they've never heard that joke before. I'll also put a link to the Flux mining ecosystem in the description below. It's pretty easy to find, but that link will be there and you can click on it and this will give you some more instructions. I'm only going to follow one very simple set of instructions to show you one possible way to mine using your graphics cards. Now, if you are choosing to mine Flux, you need to be able to use the Zell hash algorithm. To do that, you have to download a mining program. Now, I'll explain that in a minute, but for the meantime, let's also look. Well, each time a computer solves that complex mathematical problem, that computer is awarded with 75 Flux. But you can also earn Flux a different way. You can put it all together into a masternode, and then that masternode acts almost like a proof of stake system. It secures the network and you get rewarded for doing so. There's a chance every 2 minutes for a new block, so you have a chance every 2 minutes to get 75 Flux. And overall, there is 440 million Flux available for mining, with some of them already out there, of course. And just like Bitcoin, the reward halves every 2.5 years. Well, let's take a quick look at how you can mine if you're not a major player and you don't have one of those huge rigs. Perhaps you only have a couple of graphics cards. Well, you can still mine even with just a couple of graphics cards. And the way you do that, you join a pool. Now, all these mining pools you can choose from, there are plenty. I've chosen to go with Miner Pool, but that's up to you. You can choose any of the others. If you chose the Flux pools, you'll actually be giving some of your reward to Flux in order to keep Flux going. But the fees are pretty small, and they are giving you a service that helps you join up with other computers around the world so that you can beat the system and mine more Flux. If you do this by yourself, you're just gonna go for luck. But if you do this with lots of computers, you increase your hash and you increase your chances of getting a block. But in this case then, you just share the block with all the other computers that are on the system, and you only get a part of the Flux that was mined. So I headed off to Miner Pool and it looked a little bit complex. So let's just walk through this step by step. Now recall I said you needed a mining program. Well, I went off to Discord and I found Gminer, which was the recommended miner from Mining Pool. Of course, there are other advantages to joining Discord, and I'll put a link to the Gminer Discord channel in the description below, but I'll also be putting a link to the Cryptology for You channel also in the description below. More on that later. In the Gminer channel, you go to the announcements, and in the announcements they will put the latest software that is available. Click on that and download the one that you want. For me, I'm using a Windows system, so I'm going to download the Windows version. Of course, it's up to you what version you want, but it's probably better to use the one that's on your type of computer. When you download it, it is a zip file, so you're going to need to unzip that. When you unzip, you often get this little security, but you can choose to ignore it. I certainly did. It's up to you, of course. If you're feeling very threatened, well, don't go any further. But if you want to mine, you're gonna need to. But you can take the risk. I have done so, and I have not found any problems in the past, but you should do your own research. Head on back now to Miner Pool and click on the connect button there. You're gonna need a list of instructions, and those instructions are pretty clear. Well, actually, they're not that clear. You just have to copy and paste this into a file, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. Now, I am not solo mining. I am going to be mining in a pool with other computers, and so I'm going to need port 2033. I don't need to remember this. If I click just a little bit further down, I get a list of instructions that I need to copy into a file. The other thing you're going to need is a Flux address, and you can get that from going to Zelcore, downloading the Zelcore wallet, and this will give you a Flux address. Now, back in your Gminer file, which you have unzipped, you're going to have to locate the mine zel cache file. It's a bat file, and here it is here. It's pretty easy to find. It's going to be probably the last one because Z is quite a long way down in the alphabet. Now, right click on that and you're going to need to edit this file. So hit the edit button and up pops this. It's another warning. Oh, of course it will be. All you need to do now is hit the more info and a run anyway button will come up, and you should probably take that risk if you want to do the mining. If you don't want to take that risk, stop now. But I took the risk, and this is the file, and this is what it looks like. Look, someone's already filled it all out for me with their own address. Don't start it now, because if you start mining now, you're going to start giving someone else your coin. Let's go back to the instructions and see what is needed from Mining Pool. Well, the instructions were pretty easy. You could just copy and paste this and put it straight into the bat file and then save it. The only thing you're going to need to do is change a few things. So the first thing you're going to need to change, you're going to have to change where it says 2 miners to Miner Pool, and you can just copy and paste this entire thing through, and that means you'll also get to change the port, and you should definitely put in your own address. You will need a password, and you can make that up. It can be anything, and you don't need to remember it. You just need to stop other people trying to access Miner Pool in order to get your coin. And there are a couple of little extra things which you can put in after where the algo is, and so this is what it's going to end up looking like. So I made the changes, and instead of wallet.workername, I put in my wallet address, and I made up a worker name, PaulyD. Now, you don't need a worker name, but it is good if you do, especially if you have more than one rig. But if you only have one rig, you don't even need a worker name. And I just made up a randomly long password, but it doesn't matter. You don't need to remember it. You can always access it. It's just other people can't. Now make sure you save that bat file and then open it. And once you open it, things start to run. You'll come up with this 80s style digital look, maybe a little DOSy, but this is what is mining now. This is my computer entering into the world of mining. Now the thing is, I don't have 12 3080 Ti's. In fact, I only have one 1070 Ti that was left over from my mining days. And yeah, Flux was one of the coins that I was mining pretty heavily back in the day. And you can see there is a fee of 2%, so everything that you mine, you lose 2% to go to the Gminer developers, which is fair. You didn't do any of the work, they did it all for you. Now the thing is, with just one 1070 Ti doing the job, I'm not going to get a lot of mining mining done, and the temperature went from 62 degrees to 69 degrees in just a few seconds, and then it went a lot higher after that. You can go back to Miner Pool to check how your miner is doing. Just pop in your address here, and if you have a worker name, put dot and your worker name, and this will find your worker and how well it is doing. So I checked up on how well I was doing with my 1070 Ti, and it looked like it was doing something, especially over that 2 minutes that I was running it. And I could tell it was doing something because the core temperature of my GPU went up to 77. Now this isn't that alarming. The GPU can handle that for pretty extended periods of time. And right now there is a gamer twitching pretty heavily thinking, what am I doing to this 1070 Ti? Don't worry, it's fine. So after a few minutes of mining, I checked to see how I was going, and I was going to get 1.28 coins if I kept this going for 24 hours solid with my 1070 Ti. Imagine if I had that rig. So this is a numbers game. If you have a lot more GPU, you get a lot more coins. I'm not likely to be able to pay back my computer and my 1070 Ti just by mining Flux, but of course this is about an economy. Are you able to afford a large rig? How much is electricity? And you've got to leave it running 24/7. Do you really want this where you would normally be living? Or is it okay in a room which is not even used anymore? And the other thing to know is that you don't just get paid out for every single block that is found. It might take a few blocks, and I had only mined 0.004 Flux. It was only a short amount of time, to be fair, but I would need 3 Flux as a minimum in order to get a withdraw. So after my little foray back into mining, I decided to look to see what could happen if people mine, and yeah, there are some pretty big risks. Now your mining rig, if it's set up, no matter how good it is set up, can still catch fire. Wherever there's heat, there is a risk of fire, and the temperature of your GPUs can easily exceed 90 degrees Celsius. So be very careful and make sure you know what you're doing, which of course is pretty much the whole thing that I've always been saying from the word go. You need to do your research. Now I've only shown one way you can mine, and there are plenty of others. This one way is just an easy way, but you can do your research and find a whole bunch of other ways. But if you're building a rig, make sure you build it so that there is plenty of airflow so that it can stay cool. My 1070 Ti is inside a normal tower, and so it was not a good time to be mining with it, so I only let it run for a few minutes just for this video alone. However, that 1070 Ti has had a pretty illustrious career in the mining world and is now happily being used for things like this video and the occasional game. Well, don't forget you're welcome to come into our Telegram, Discord or Facebook groups. We're happy to discuss pretty much anything cryptocurrency there. Plus there are going to be a whole bunch of links in the description below, and I would be very happy if you clicked on a couple of those. This is how the channel stays totally free. Also, I've decided to start using Twitter, and you're welcome to follow me on Twitter as well, but don't forget to join in the Discord. Now, the Discord group is pretty important because that is where Anorak puts his charts, and you're welcome to ask Anorak what he thinks a coin is going to do, and he'll take a look at the charts for you. Again, totally free. We do it because we love crypto. I hope you liked this video and you're going to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that little alarm button too, because then you'll know when the next video is. Like and share this with your friends, because your friends might want to do some mining in the future and get some pretty cheap GPUs which are coming up. I've been your host, PaulyD, and happy profits.